All right, today's RTFSC, I'm actually going to go over two different Ruby gems. The first one is ActionMailer, which if you've built a Rails application and you've had to send an email, you've probably used this before. I actually find it very confusing. Whenever you are setting this up, you're defining these defaults with these weird class methods, there's layouts. Whenever you want to send emails, things get even weirder. You have to remember, okay, there's this thing called user mailer, and then we're calling welcome email, but you can't pass it method parameters. You have to pass it params. I'm guessing this was to make it similar to controllers, but I actually find that it's kind of confusing. And I can never remember it because whenever you initialize it, I always want to call usermailer.new and then call the welcome email. I want to pass the parameters in through here or through the Ruby class, but you can't do that. You're essentially initializing it with this with method. And we're going to have a look at the actual source inside of that. But before we do that, I'll show you what my solution was to kind of end this confusion. And it's this thing called Supermail. So I wrote an announcement about it on the beautifulruby.com blog called Introducing Supermail. And it shows the code examples. So I actually have this in the Beautiful Rails or the Beautiful Ruby Rails application. So let's have a look at that. In my Rails application, I have app emails. They're not called mailers, they're just called emails because you're sending emails. Makes sense. So we can see here, if I want to send a person an email, I would just initialize welcome email, pass it the person, and then you can see here the to on that is just going to be called person.email. I can set the subject there. I could also hard code this if I want to, but in this case, I want to send it to person.email. So what does that mean? If I want to send this to somebody, I would say welcome email.new person, user.first.deliver. And this would work. That would deliver the email to whoever that person is. It's much more straightforward than whatever this stuff is with. And then you have to remember, was that like the welcome email dot deliver? And of course, the invocation of this isn't really the bad part, even though it is for me because I can't remember it. It's just setting all the instance variables multiple times. Again, in these like kind of weird parameter blocks, if I can find that. So params. Yeah, this is the stuff that I just find not very straightforward and intuitive. To me, that should just be passed through either as an argument to the initializer or an argument into this method. All right, let's start looking at some source code though. And you'll actually see the levels of indirection hanging out inside of this ActionMailer source code. So let's have a look. All right, so we have ActionMailer base. Let's have a look at this. So we have, let's see, 2. We should find def2. That's not in there. I did see def headers. So you can add headers to your email this way, attachments. I think this probably extends the mail class. So we have null mail body. Actually, let's see what default is. Default. So we're setting these params up here, default options. So we're merging hashes. Deliver mail here, that I think makes sense. So we have payload. Let's see if we can find payload. No. This is tricky source code to navigate, in my opinion. I'm sure the folks who have maintained this know their way around a bit better, but I just find this is very difficult to understand. Email is tricky though. It is just a tricky thing to deal with. Let's try to find callbacks. Let's see what's in here before deliver. All right, so we're just firing callbacks there. Collector, I'm not exactly sure what collector does. It looks like it's, I don't know, collecting formats, I'm guessing, for the email. Delivery methods. Yeah, this is probably just like, are you delivering over SMTP? Deprecation. A form builder, that's interesting. I'm not sure why a form builder would be needed in there. A preview interceptor. This was a thing that I found to be kind of interesting and odd when I was checking out the source code. Like, what exactly are these interceptors? And I found these things inside of Preview. So Preview is if you want to actually look at the email in your browser, you can create an instance of a preview for a mailer, and this stuff actually gets called by a controller. So you can see you have a find right here, and it's like saying, hey, find this email that exists, in this preview folder. Um, but like, what are these interceptors? That I can't quite figure that out, and I won't. I have 5 more minutes to get through this in the other gem. So we have configuration here, rescuable version. Um, I feel like I'm missing something because I'm looking at base and I'm not quite seeing what I want to see in here. There's a delegator. Um, yeah, interesting. I don't quite understand this, but it seems like it's probably delegating or wrapping something. If I had more time, I could probably figure that out, but that's just no fun. All right, so in 4 minutes, let's go ahead and jump into the source code for Simple Mail. All right, so bundle, not bundle open. We'll just say edit, beautiful Ruby, Supermail. All right, the source on this is actually quite small. This is it. This is the source for this thing. Um, you can see the base. We're delegating the delivery of the message to this message delivery method, and we have this thing here called message delivery, which is calling ActionMailer base, and this is actually returning a mail object from or a mail message object from the mail gem. I'm guessing ActionMailer is wrapping the mail message classes from the mail gem, so maybe I should crack that open, but I have 3 more minutes, so I can't do that. But you can see here, this is the base class. If you just sent this, you would call, you create an instance of this class and call deliver on it, and it would generate the email and actually send it through Rails. So you don't actually have to configure anything extra if you set this thing up. And this is what it looks like in an application. Again, it's very similar to the base class. All we're doing is we're overriding def2 subject. The body in this case, I'm calling super to kind of do a layout here. I haven't hooked this into the Rails renderer yet, since this is an early version. I only need text emails at this point, so I haven't bothered with that. But I do want to have body and HTML formats. But for now, I'm just doing text, and this is how I'm handling the layout right now, which is kind of silly. It's just a string. This is a here doc, and I'm saying, hey, if there's a block given, then yield whatever the string is inside of here, which is how I do my layouts, right? So application email, extend Supermail. I set up my defaults here. I don't have any weird like default class methods, right? It's just here's a method called from. I don't know who I'm sending it to yet. I don't know what the subject is yet, but I do know that the body is going to have this like signature on the bottom of it. And then of course I can inherit application email with welcome email, and I just initialize this thing. It's just a boring Ruby class at this point. I initialize it, I give it a person object, and then I can set up everything here. And then, like I showed you before, I can deliver this thing from like a payments controller, right? So let's say after the person pays, scroll down here, I might do something like welcome emailer like this, but I'm not going to use that thing. It's going to be like this, welcome emailer to new person, and then I'll deliver it, and that's it. That's all I call. It's much more straightforward. For me, at least, I just understand Ruby classes a lot better. Initialize the thing, give it what I want, call deliver, and it sends an email. Pretty straightforward. I think more straightforward than what you get from ActionMailer. So check that out. I have an article for it up on beautifulruby.com. There's a GitHub repo for it at beautifulruby/supermail. And of course, if you like these videos and you want more of them, go to beautifulruby.com. Check this out. This is a paid course about Flux on Rails. It's not related to Supermail, but it is in that you can build Rails UIs using nothing but Ruby classes. Maybe that's why I like Supermail so much. I'll see you next time.